Welcome to the Concert Queen Connect. So excited. No, you're not dreaming. We're actually at the venue with the two co-founders of RealMusic Events. We've got
Hello.
Andrew Parsons, say hello.
Hello.
And Kelly Gray. So I'm sure you're wondering where we are. I'm going to let you guys take the stage on that because this is it's a pretty big deal. And this is something that I know you guys have been really keeping your cards close to your chest on this.
So
I know
hard.
I literally didn't get set the address until it was time for me to leave. And here we are. So I will let y'all kind of explain where we are, what the plans are for the future, and a Seismic Dance event being held here.
Yeah, so when we say the venue, it's not the brand name.
Yes.
We know that exists.
A
here.
music venue, exactly. It's a music venue.
But yeah, this is our new endeavor that we've been dropping some hints about in the past few months, though this has been in the works for over a year now.
Yeah.
Going on a year and a half, I guess. Just shy of a year and a half. Anyway, so this is actually going to be the home of where Seismic is going to take place moving forward, as well as most of our RealMusic Events shows. It's still under construction, so we're inside the main warehouse space. But the walls will be added, and so will the rest of the floor plan. But yeah, we'll probably be able to give you guys a sneak peek at Seismic. It'll be like a pop-up iteration here, and then we'll do the grand opening after that, and it'll look even a little bit more different. So it'll be cool because everyone will get to see like a sneak peek, a preview, and then they'll get to come and be like, whoa, where am I when they come for the grand opening. So the name is The Concourse.
You said the name.
We're by the airport, so.
Yeah, it's a play on being by the airport. So I was telling Clarissa, the concourse is, you obviously go to a concourse when you're at some kind of transportation location and to go to your new destination. But it's also another meaning is it's an assembly of a group of people, like minds or like types of people. And that's ultimately what we're doing here. So we'll have lots of different adventures, and that's actually an interesting part of our business model that you'll see later. But it's going to be very special. This has been something in the making for all of these years. You know, we've been throwing our RealMusic Events shows for almost 12 years now, and this is kind of like the pinnacle of what everything's built up to. It's gonna be so nice to be able to have all of our shows here. And
Yeah. So how has that been? Because right now you guys have obviously been doing shows at Cedar Street. You know, we talked about it last time. If you haven't seen already, Kelly's in my episode, we're gonna put a link to all that. You have to go see it. That gives you full history. You really get to know Kelly. We're obviously gonna get to know Andrew today.
Hey.
But
no.
I'm the front man, so.
There's so much that y'all have done for the community, and I talked about it with Kelly, just my attachment and love for RealMusic and all the introduction to the scene here and all that good stuff. So let's take it back to when RealMusic first started. I know that is something that Andrew kind of spearheaded, but let's even go before that, because you started first as a DJ, right?
Right, yep.
And so tell me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I started I went to my first rave whenever I was 13. So
What?
back in 2000. Yeah, so.
Does math real fast. So
I'm 13.
He's 35 right now.
35 now, yeah. So I've been, going to parties for a very long time. And
Wow.
after about a year of just going to a bunch of raves.
His
and
brother introduced him because his
Okay.
brother is also a drum and bass DJ at this point in time. But
yeah.
So you
Dirty.
weren't just
Goes by
moseying
dirty.
along,
he just mosey along as a
leave
13-year-old.
leave middle school in 8th grade and just wander into
Yeah.
a rave.
And my brother, he went off to college. Basically.
Justin.
Justin goes by Dirty. He went off to college, and then when he came back or whatever, he was wearing bracelets and shit and stuff, and he was like, let's go check this out. So we would always go party in Houston. I actually lived in Waco at the time, but we would always go party in Houston. So started going to those, and then after about a year, I started really wanting to get into DJing. So I started DJing when I was 14. It was already playing. I played a festival and stuff pretty early on. I played EDC Texas when I was literally 15. So I started playing festivals and large
15 years. Did they know you were 15 years old?
So yes, but like I was playing clubs and stuff in Austin when I was 15. And so I would go in there like, you can't be in here. I'm like, well, I'm booked. And they're like, I guess, they would just like let me in, let me play. And then
I'm pretty sure I remember in TBC times when I like took that test. I think if you're working or something, it's different. Or if you're the artist,
it is a weird thing.
You're
I mean,
allowed to be there.
There's definitely times where we've booked artists like now where they're like really young and we're like,
wasn't like Matty on? Didn't that happen with him?
yeah, Matty was like
Back in the
17,
day?
I think the first time he
Did
played.
they have a chaperone come with them in those
Yeah,
cases?
his dad was.
Yeah.
His dad was with him. Yeah, I didn't have a chaperone.
You didn't have a chaperone?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, so I started DJing very young and playing, shows and things like that. And then I kind of went very backwards. Like I started DJing and doing parties, and then I started a record label when I was still in high school. So I was like 16 and I owned a record label. It was mostly focused on like trance and stuff. And then I ran that for like years.
Wow.
And then after that, I started, trying to produce here and there, and then eventually did a few events, kind of here and there, like shows at different clubs and venues and things like that. And then kind of wasn't really doing too much of those whenever we met in 2008. Well, we met before then, but when we got together in 2008 and everything. So, and then she kind of, we both were like, well, why don't we start doing our own events? And I already had a brand that I was working on because RealMusic Recordings was the label. And then so we started RealMusic Events from the
Makes
recordings
sense.
thing.
I see it. I see
Now
it.
you're realistic real fashion.
Yeah. So then we started that, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, let's start doing our own things. And we really just, wanted to book artists that no one was really bringing, because at the time, everyone was bringing kind of the same things. It was like Benny Benassi every like 3 months or, shit like that. So we're like, well, let's bring artists that we like and that we want to see that no one's going to bring, right? So, and that's just kind of how that all began.
And so how do you, as I know you book talent for RME, so how do you decide like who you're going to book? I know you said people that are not typically well known, but how do you discover these new artists?
I mean, I think definitely the label plays a lot into, like, I definitely miss the label. Like, I don't run it anymore, but like I loved at the time, like finding new talent and stuff has always been really important to me. And I still have that passion with bookings too. So like, I'm always looking for new sounds. And I think with doing shows, it's very different, because when we started doing shows, if I booked a Matt Zoe or something, it would do well. Or like, Chris Lake's first gig in Austin was us, things like that. Those were good shows. But, we would also do a lot of smaller names as well that wouldn't do as great, or they're a lot harder to, book. And someone like Avicii we booked when nobody knew who he was, and that wasn't selling that many tickets. But then, you really start to learn, like, we were just way ahead of the curve. And so like I started learning to really just like curb it back. Like if there's somebody I really liked, I would probably wait a year at least before I would even try to bring him.
Wow.
A lot of companies like C3 and stuff, they hate to be the first. Like they want us to book it and maybe somebody else do it. Then they want to do the third time. They want to take it from you when they know it's proven that it sells tickets. We're very much like, I want to do it because we like it and because we love the music, and I hope it sells tickets. It doesn't always sell tickets, but we want to kind of do it first and build that artist up. And it definitely does suck whenever the big companies take them from you. That kind of blows when you kind of have a rapport with these people. But we're just all about like taking that chance and trying these guys out. And if it's something we like, then we want to do it. Like they don't have to. We don't have to know that they're going to sell tickets. The thing is, us as a promoter, and I think this is a lost art. I think that us as a promoter, we promote the artist, especially when it's full swing. Right now it's kind of weird, but when it's full swing, like we're pushing their music, we're pushing who they are, like what they're releasing, like that. I think that's a lost art. Most people that are promoters are just pushing, this is the show and this is the artist, but they're not like, check out their music, listen to their music, like find out who they are. You're going to want to come. If you don't know who they are, figure out who they are, and then hopefully you're going to come to the show.
And also a lot of companies, they rely on like when artists or agents, send out like, these acts are touring, do you want to book it? And so a lot of people are just like, okay, and they just cherry pick from that.
Yeah.
Or they just go off of the suggestion, whereas we always took pride in the fact that like Andrew would like cultivate who we were bringing and find out, seek them out. And we don't do just rising stars, or rising artists. It's a combination now of more popular names and the up and coming and the ones in the middle. So it's just nice to have like a good mixture of them.
I think that's such a testament to, and if, like I said, if you're seeing this for the first time and you're not familiar, you should be following RealMusic. You should be following them, because you can trust that. And I learned this, that I can just trust you guys. And I know that whoever you bring, if it's the big, huge artist or it's someone I've never heard of, they're all going to be equally as good. I trust you guys. And
I mean, that was honestly like what we strove for, like we're striving for from like the beginning, was like we want people to eventually get to the point where it's like, I don't know who it is. Yeah, for real though. Like that like you can ask her, I used to say all the time, like I wanted people to eventually get to the point where it's like, it doesn't matter who it is, but because they're bringing it, I'm going to go, you know?
Exactly.
That was really what we wanted, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure, like you said, when you have these bigger people, but yeah, please don't ever lose that. Like, please always keep that. And I'm sure there's a lot of pressure, like you said, to have the best and brightest, but even then, and that's one of the things that I was telling you guys about earlier, is people were reaching out to me for Seismic, like, because they saw our interview and were thinking that I have some pull in this.
A little pull.
I mean, I do not. So I just want to make that known. Like, as you can see, there's a lot of consideration and things like that. So the people that are really curating this lineup and making those choices are the people that have the expertise and the know-how to do it. Not saying that I don't. Like, I love good music, but I also know, like, that's not what I do on a day-to-day basis. And knowing what
and it's
kind of
definitely
talents,
like, you know, it really is. We book things that we like we're not just booking random things. So I know you kind of touched on it there a little bit too, but it's like, if somebody is interested in playing our shows and doing things, I mean, I want, you know, if they send us music, and you know, we like to check that out because we book people that we like, you know. So that's how we kind of find. I mean, shit, there are artists that, I mean, there's several artists that I've actually gotten agents and things in the U.S. because I'm like, I really want to book you. They're like, well, we don't have a U.S. agent. I'm like, let me find you one, you know. Like,
oh, wow.
I've done that
quite many times, and he's also told her on the idea of like being a manager himself, but I'm like, Andrew, like, reality check, you can barely handle your workload as is.
That is true.
You know, maybe you just wait on that, and it would be good because he is good at finding that talent and all of that. But
and I do love that, like I said.
Later.
I mean, that really is. I mean, I love finding new talent and stuff. Like, I think that whole scouting thing is like super fun. Like, I mean,
you're scouting at 13 years old, so I mean, you got an early start.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody. So with Seismic, and with that, obviously going to be here at this venue, what do you foresee? I know Kelly had mentioned, and I called her a liar because I didn't believe that the lineup could be better.
So yeah,
and I read my words, and she was right. It is one of the best lineups that I've ever seen. So can we talk about some of those artists and how you kind of chose those different people?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the festival, obviously it's house and techno, so that's kind of where it starts. I mean, obviously it's, you know, I feel like house music comes pretty easily to us, and you know, because that's, you know, what I'm passionate about, it's very easy for us to be like, you know, on the up and up, especially with like artists that are doing, you know, great, and that, you know, are putting out a lot of good music and things. And then obviously same with techno, like, you know, we love techno, all the melodic techno, hard techno, all sorts of different styles of techno. But I mean, really it starts with like who we like and who we're listening to, and you know, who we want to see, you know, it's
who we still haven't gotten to bring yet for whatever circumstance.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird thing because we joke about it. It's like, you know, we booked this lineup for kind of for ourselves, but obviously, you know, we want people to see it too, but we book it for ourselves too. And then, you know, we spend the whole damn time working, so we miss, you know, most of the people we want to see.
Who's someone that you missed in like years past that you were kind of bummed that you were like, I gotta bring him back?
God, I'd have to like look at the lineups from
right?
the past, but I know that I really wish I could have heard more of Nick Fanciulli's set last year.
I was there.
When I was like running around, because I spend my time running around or frantically answering a million questions, and I like had to stop. I'm like, what's going on? You know, but then I had to go somewhere and then go back to the green room because we usually still like sewing performer costumes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely wish I could have seen more. Oh, and Idris, I wish I could have seen.
I was about to say Idris. I wish I had seen more of his, and Gilly and Asia. I didn't really get to catch their set.
Definitely made sure I could catch
really
them.
wanted to see.
That was my first moment of like, I have to leave the green room right now and go out there and experience this. Was when Giulia and Asia were playing.
Yeah. And see, like people like them, I think are a fine example of like, you know, when we brought them, most people had no idea who they were, and I think that, you know, the festival really set it off for them. I think most people I know now know who they are, you know, especially locally. So, I mean, they're really dope.
So then what's going to be the setup for you guys as far as, I know we talked in the last one about you have the tsunami stage, the volcano stage. Are you still going to have a very similar kind of vibe and setup with that?
Yeah, so we still have the volcano stage. We still have, which is the more techno and melodic techno and all of that, progressive. But it skews more techno. And then there's the tsunami stage, which is more house, you know, the different variations of like tech house, deep house, all that.
Yeah.
In the future, we actually probably want to have another one where we can separate deep house from tech house, because there's just so much that you want to do, and they are different vibes, you know. And so that may be something that comes in the future.
It's coming.
Yeah, but yeah, so there's those, and then there's our third area that we've done, which is, if anyone caught it, it was the Realm, but it was REAL capital M, because it's a play on real music.
See what you
Surprise,
did there.
surprise.
And
Went
so,
right over my head.
Yeah, like no one picked up on it.
You have these like the go-go gadgets.
Yeah.
She's got these like plays on words that if you blink, you miss it if you're not paying attention.
I do like to be considered a wordsmith.
She's pretty good at wordsmithing.
Yes, we had that. The only thing is, for this coming edition, like, we're waiting to kind of finalize whether or not we can do the Realm, and that's just because of COVID and things changing and format and pods this or pods that. And we'll get into more about that, but that's just the one area that we're hoping we can do, because we love being able to embrace having more of our regional acts on the lineup, and that's something that's always special, because we've seen other festivals where they used to have some openers, but like only a few openers on some of those stages, or and then sometimes you see hardly any, and we're like, I feel like the local community should definitely be more involved in these lineups. And so if we're not able to fully achieve what we typically do this edition, it's just because of COVID, blame COVID. But yeah, so those are the things that are still in place. Format is going to be slightly different because of COVID.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So I know you mentioned pods, and just pure disclaimer, this could totally change. I feel like every week, I can't even imagine. Booking, rebooking, dates. You guys probably have the most difficult job during COVID, aside from like frontline workers, not even talking about that, healthcare. But speaking of events, I mean, that has to be really tough and trying to manage that. So how are you guys kind of staying ahead of everything?
It's definitely been a lot. I mean, it's like, you know, like the day that the governor announced that they were going to be reopening everything here, like literally that day we had a meeting with our safety people, and like going into that meeting, our plan was completely different than, you know, like,
I think our meeting was like the next day. We'd already had one right before that, and, you know, we were working through some details, and then before we could get to our next meeting, that happened. And then within like the first hour, you got people like commenting on irrelevant posts on our profiles about like, what's gonna happen? Like, blah blah blah. I'm like, do you guys really think that like the entire format of the festival completely changes like at the snap of a finger? Like, can you give us a moment?
And what we're talking about, so most recently, for people that are not here in Austin or in Texas or in the country, Texas and Florida have just kind of been going ham, I feel like. And Texas lifted the mask mandate last week. People like restaurants and venues have gone back to business.
They made it open 100% so that all businesses can operate, and that they wouldn't have a statewide mask ordinance, but it's up to like businesses and all that to assess their own rules. And so that may seem business friendly to folks, but it's actually not. We don't find it to be that business friendly, because having the lack of consistency, especially in a global pandemic, is really important for all, you know? And when you remove that, then you just create more issues. And we're already seeing those issues because people on both sides of the spectrum expect businesses to accommodate them, and then they're nasty when they don't. And it's like, let's just remember that a business should always be like safety first. So you need to skew towards more caution rather than less precaution. So essentially, like for us, it hasn't changed our operations. You know, for like our Real Music event shows, we've kept it at like 20 to 25% capacity, so that people can have enough space, even though for some reason they all still want to cram into the same spots. But I
personally like it.
Yeah, it's actually nicer.
It's kind of nice. You got room to just do your thing.
Yeah, and we keep the masks in place. And then for Seismic, I know that's the big, everyone's like, oh, what's the format going to be like? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So currently, we have a pod-based format, and essentially what that means is like, people have done this with barricade or, you know, bike rack, you may call it, or you can do like with rope and stakes and configurations like that, where it's like a little corral of like 7 by 7 feet, and then you can have like up to 6 to 8 people, depending on what size they are, in there, and they would be laid out like a grid at the stages. So when you go to a stage, you file into an available pod, and you would be with like your immediate crew. You don't have to do the max if you're rolling with a smaller crew, like your significant other or just a few of you. You find an available pod for you guys, and so we would have that at the volcano and the tsunami stage. So, and the mask would still be in place. The thing is, at this point, a lot is developing, a lot has been changing. Even just in the past couple of weeks, I feel like vaccinations have significantly ramped up.
Yeah.
So in today's world, we still have the pods in place, but should everything really ramp up in the manner that the administration has said, they said by May 1st at the latest, everyone 18 and over should have access to a vaccine. And so, all right, fingers crossed, is that true? Then that can change the game here. So keep in mind that everything changes. And so if it seems like, I want more information, why haven't y'all given us more information? We've given as much as we can, but we also don't want to get extremely specific when we know it's probably going to change. Yeah. So we're not going to remove the necessary precautions if the atmosphere does not allow for it. However, with a couple things, so should vaccinations truly ramp up and become widespread available for everyone 18 and over, and by when Seismic takes place, in addition to this app partner that we're working with and our public health and safety partners, it's essentially, people are seeing this, but there's essentially a COVID-19 report card passport is what they call it. And attendees will upload their proof of vaccination prior to the event. And that's kind of double checked against a database and all of that. And if you do not have the vaccine, then we will have a testing component. So that we'll be relaying more information about this in the weeks to come, but you'd essentially need to go do a rapid test when you pick up your wristband before you enter Seismic. So we would be doing a significant level of safety mitigation, and we would still keep masks in place unless for some reason this virus is magically gone by May. We're going to be keeping the masks in place, and we don't just say that, we will be enforcing it with security measures and all of that. And so yeah, should those other things go into effect, the rollout of vaccines, then we can reduce the pods. We can make that where potentially it's optional. Maybe we'll have some pods for those that feel most comfortable with it, but not everyone has to be in a pod. So that's the thing that we're just wait, guys, things have just changed very quickly, and we're seeing favorable updates, and things are looking really good and exciting for maybe having a little bit more freedom for this event. But we're not going to just throw caution to the wind, and we're not going to make any adjustments unless the proper things take place. So just stay tuned and wait for it. But at this point in time, it's still a pod-based kind of free flow format where you go from one stage to another, you go into a pod, and you keep the masks on, but we'll let you know once we have some updates on that front.
Yeah. So I think that's to your point, as you said, people, it's going to be my first festival. I know I can never say Ubby Dubby. Did I say that right?
Up and Dubbins is.
Ubby Dubby, and then you guys. And so, you're probably going to be my first festival, and there's a lot of people I know that are in the same boat. So knowing that they have those safeguards in place, that they have both options, I know I did get some questions of people being well, there's still some uneasiness, but they want to go, and if you're providing that space for them, then they can feel comfortable knowing that at least they're going to a festival that has the option for them.
I definitely think, for Ubby Dubby, it's definitely a younger crowd than our style of music, and that's the other thing is, I think most people that come to our events are an older demo. I think most of those people want to be safer. I think that, obviously the younger the crowd, the less they probably care about safety and everything. So, I don't know all the facts with WW, but I do know that they're definitely going to be pushing their capacities and all those things quite a bit more than we will, So I think that most people, especially our patrons, are going to, probably appreciate that we're trying to keep it safer and, mitigate all that kind of stuff.
So what is the capacity? Because with you guys, you're not like an ACL or an Ultra, you're a boutique festival. Yeah. So what does that mean for this moving forward?
So we're currently at a 2,500 cap, and then spread over 2 days, per day. Spread over multiple areas, that's actually a pretty reasonable size amount of people, especially if we've got masks, testing, ample space, and all of that. So that's what we're at, and we don't anticipate increasing the capacity because we're also, even without COVID, that's around what we had been doing in past years, between like that and 3,000. And one of the reasons for that is like we like that boutique that boutique feel. Some of our favorite festival experiences have been at other boutique festival executions, like Ship, Holy Ship, and then Friendship are ones like that.
Yeah.
And then Dirty Bird, Camp Out. You just get a different, there's more camaraderie, you're with even more like minds. Like even though you consider everyone who likes electronic music somewhat a like mind, it gets even more like-minded when you focus on subgenres.
Yeah.
And so you get a really good vibe that way.
Yeah.
And as you start to increase, that tends to dissipate, or it's just not quite the same. So even just for the lifeline of Seismic, we don't anticipate growing it to be that much. I mean, maybe more 5,000, maybe 10,000 cap. I don't know. We'll see how things play out, but yeah, it's not like we're like significantly reducing our cap because of COVID. It happened to work out in our favor that we already had a smaller, intimate festival.
And that's why we've been pushing forward the whole time too. Is we're like, the opportunity for us as a boutique festival to make this happen this whole time has been a lot greater than most of these larger festivals.
So true.
And so, I mean, if we were bigger, we would have probably cut and run a long time ago and moved it to another date, So definitely helps that we're trying to keep it small and intimate,
And so what made you make the shift from the 2-day festival to the 3-day festival?
So let me speak to that as well.
Sure.
We actually, as people, as humans, we
We're
prefer
people?
a 2-day festival. I feel like 3 days, you're like
3 days, I mean, yeah, your
Trying to
back
make it-
starts hurting. You got to make sure. There's some rookie moves like that.
And then you gotta
totally.
really pace yourself, or you're not pacing yourself so you're dead by the last day. But
Never full in on day one.
But sometimes it's actually fun to have more days, and when a lot of people are flying in, like we're gonna see more and more people traveling for this, and a lot of times people are connected in that community because they also go to things like Ship or Crossed or stuff like that. So they're getting to see their other cross-state friends at something like this. So it'd be nice to actually have an extra day. And sometimes people will ask for 3 days, and a lot of people say we really like the 2 days, so let's just give it a shot. And so we had to move Seismic multiple times once COVID hit, so we skipped 2020 twice. Like we didn't do our May version, we didn't do the fall version, so now we're back to May of 2021. One of the consolations we did for that, for people to hold on to their tickets and not like freak out, was to give them a little bit, like let's add another day, and we upgraded everyone who already had tickets to a free extra day. Whereas anyone who buys tickets after that, like they have to accommodate the 3 days.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. So with the extra like you said, not the extra day, but what, I know you guys are like at 80% sold out now, or has that
We're at
increased?
like-
It's probably past that.
we're like
90,
95 or
95.
something.
95?
Yeah, it's really close.
So don't wait too long. And if you're trying to like wait to see what exactly is going to happen, you're probably not going to get a ticket. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have the November dates, kind of announced. We haven't like put those up officially, but we're definitely gonna, if people feel safer to go to November and all that stuff. I mean, we're always down to let them kind of move them too. I mean,
Oh,
that was the other thing is, if you're one of those people who just is like absolutely like, I just cannot be in a pod, even though we've been relaying that it's a pod-based format since we announced the lineup, then you can just say, I'll skip this one and I'll go to in November when we all anticipate things being more normal.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's a good chance that we may reduce the pod format to become like a hybrid situation or something like that as the vaccine rollout ramps up. So I wouldn't make a hasty decision. We'll kind of reach out to everyone with tickets just to let them know what the deadline is to make a decision if you're going to be rolling your tickets over to November, which I don't anticipate that many people wanting to do because this lineup is fire. But and you'll have major FOMO if you do that. But the other thing is, if you're wanting to wait for things to be even like safer, even though this is going to be a safe event, I can promise you that if you're someone who's extra cautious and extra concerned, then you can also wait until November.
So what has been the response from the artists? So I was telling you earlier that I know Moon Boots, Pete, and we were talking about, I was telling him, how great it was he was coming to Austin.
Yeah.
And as a testament to Andrew, he said, I feel safe knowing that I trust Andrew Parsons to throw this event. So what has been the response from the other artists for this festival, and how are they adjusting to everything?
I mean, it's been pretty good. I mean, I think, everybody, especially artist-wise, I mean, they all want to get out there and play again, right? So I think that's one thing. And then, obviously the fact that it's smaller and all that, I think plays pretty big into that too. So I think everybody's pretty excited just to get out and do something again for the festival. And then also, with shows that we're doing, since we're keeping them smaller and everything, I mean, pretty much the feedback we almost always get is that they, enjoyed that's the only show they felt safe at, because they went and just played Florida. I mean, there's only, literally Texas and Florida is the entire United States.
They pretty
right
much
now.
all said that hardly any place where they've been taking gigs have been truly enforcing the
Really?
masks and stuff like that. And that's kind of a complicated topic because we feel some I don't know if it's good to say animosity, but it's a sensitive time right now.
Yes.
And especially earlier on when people first started like dipping their toes into doing events, a lot of people weren't dipping their toes. They were just recklessly proceeding and
Just swan diving into
and then we're like, wow, like that's crazy. But then you see like artists keep doing it and you're like, why are they accommodating these really like unhealthy, risky situations? And then also we started to see that some agents don't care. So you can be in like the worst stage, for instance, Austin, when it's in stage 5 and we're at risk of like our ICU units being all full. And we took a pledge that we would just pause because we'd started doing some of our like lower risk formatted events where it's less people and masks on at all times. But we paused even from that, even though we're pretty confident it's a low risk, environment, just so that the city and community can focus on getting into a better place and get out of like the party mentality. We don't view this as just parties that we do, people's music is therapy and, there's a profession behind it. And to find good, safe ways for people in this profession to be able to still operate and make ends meet is good if you can do it properly. But we were like, let's take a pause. It was around the holidays anyway. And some shows were, still happening, especially during like New Year's Eve and all that stuff. But and just when you like relay information to some of these agents, like they don't care, and you let them know what's going on or what the local mandates are, and they'll go against things. And it was just disconcerting to see, especially from this community, like artists or agents not caring about, they're trying to make ends meet too.
Yeah.
And they don't really care about what's going on in that particular community. And that was something that was kind of like, I think a slap in the face to the profession of what we do. But
yeah. And I think and that's a slippery slope. Right. So as like a concert goer, obviously I'm hungry for shows. Other people are hungry for shows. And like you said, everyone has different comfortabilities with what they're doing, especially New Year's Eve. That was like another crazy thing. But it was based off, I feel like, comfortability. Like if someone felt comfortable going to show, like to each their own, but it's also like respecting others and making sure, because that's to me the biggest thing that I've seen when you're going out into the scene and people just, like you said, there's just wear a mask, and then now you don't necessarily have that curtain to kind of hide behind now because it's been everyone is just out in the open, and so
not at our events.
Not at their events. However, but yeah, so I it's really hard to because like you said, everyone has their own personal reasons and with what they're doing to make their ends meet. But it's got to be tough. I understand erring more on the conservative side and having that stance. I'm sure everyone that follows you guys and follows your events, I'm sure appreciates that.
It doesn't matter what you do. Like people, there will always be someone on a different part of that spectrum that's going to point a finger. So it's reckless. Like, have fun at your party. Like, I'm glad you think this is important right now. And like, that's like,
because you had some people too, like, hate, like, I remember you were like,
some of the posts, but they're like, they don't even go to anything.
They don't live here. You don't even go here.
It's
like Mean Girls.
They don't know like how our events have actually been conducted. And I'm like, you can ask anyone who actually has been to any of these that we're on top of it in terms of making sure people wear the masks, even when you're sitting down, because we don't want there to be any room for like any slip-ups there.
Yeah.
So, then they're just like, God, like like it's a lot of anxiety, and you get upset because people who don't know, and they'll assume the worst. So you deal with them, and then you deal with the other people that think you have a stick up your ass for being too cautious and like, let me be free, and luckily like our audience base is great and the majority really respect those precautions and actually they appreciate them, but you still have the minority that don't want to be told to have to wear a mask the whole time and don't understand why security keeps like telling them to put it back up, and Like, why do you have any restrictions at your festival coming up? So it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. You've got people complaining on both sides. Maybe everyone should just think of like how hard it must be for the people throwing these things and have a little empathy.
If that's your biggest worry in life, like people wearing a mask at a show, like I think
I know, right?
You're not like, come on now.
I'm like, let's appreciate being able to have nice things when otherwise we wouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
exactly.
So let's just do what we can for now.
Yeah,
and that's the thing with the festival too. It's like, you know, I almost feel like an obligation to be like, look, it can be done and we can do it safely, just to show that it can be done. You know?
Right.
It's like,
But yeah.
I mean, people were wearing those masks even before. That was like
I know,
the
the
fun.
little-
Yeah,
That's
this
funny.
is their moment.
So for one of our like vendors who would sell like merch and stuff at like the last Seismic,
Uh-huh.
he had like some masks and stuff, the little like, you know, raver kind of masks. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't think that we want you to sell those because it's just kind of not the vibe we're going. Because, you know, now it's so commonplace, it's hard to even remember a time before masks, but it had a more like, not as bad as pacifiers, but it could be a little bit like, a little too ravey.
Did you have a pacifier?
No, I never did that
Okay.
thing.
I didn't
Thank
either.
you very much. I'm not
No.
a baby. Maybe when I was a baby I did. But not as an adult.
Not a rave baby, not a rave
so
baby.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Wait, so you put a pacifier in your mouth?
I mean,
You never told me this.
Rave baby.
Wow.
Could you see? Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we're just like, it's just not the aesthetic we're going, because especially for Seismic, we want to, like, there's people that are, you know, we skew towards, well, it's 18 and up, we still have like our sweet spot is like 21 or 25 to 35. And it feels a little like, I don't know what the right word is here. I don't want to say immature, but it's just a little too ravey, okay? And then fast forward like 6 months or something like that, and then COVID hit, and we're like, remember that time I told you like no masks? And now we're all like all about it. Then I've started making masks myself, and anyway, I take it back. It's not. It's fine.
You can wear your mask, wear your candy, wear anything you want. Anybody can do anything right now. Like just celebrate being able to go to a festival. Speaking of masks, and we didn't get to talk about this in the last show, so definitely want to talk about real music, real fashion, real music.
Real
Which
music,
one?
real fashion.
Real music, real fashion.
Yeah.
So tell people about how that whole thing started.
Yeah, so I mean, we had found this dope spot off of like East 6th Street that was available, and we're like, what's that? Like, that could be our office space. And we needed an office space, and the like rent was pretty reasonable. And then we're like, you know what? This isn't a really good location. Maybe we should actually like sell some clothes here too. Then it became more about selling clothes and not about the office.
yes,
But
we still need enough.
But actually, it was about a year of having the lease before we even like did anything. We did our Seismic pop-up where you could do wristband pickup and merch and stuff. But then we were always just so busy with Seismic and then Era and just our shows and holidays that it just time kept going on. We're like, we really need to open. Then when we were finally going to open was, I think we talked about this a little bit in the last interview, but it was the weekend that COVID hit Austin. So we had our Carl Cox show on like the 12th, which was a Thursday. Then the first confirmed cases in Austin was that Friday, the 13th.
Ooh.
Ooh. And then we were supposed to open like the 14th. I may be off of the day. My off of the day was Carl Cox the 13th?
It was the 12th. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh my God. I told you that was going to happen.
It's already happened to me once, yeah.
So yeah, we were like, I guess we're not going to do our grand opening and
Yeah,
either
we're
soft
like-
opening or grand opening, but
Yeah.
we decided to hold off, and then we were closed for another like 8 months or something.
Yeah, we're like, let's just see what happens with
6
this
months.
thing. And then here we are still dealing with it.
Then we opened, it was either September or October. And it was like good at first, but things were pretty slow because it was COVID times and, you know, and then we were also busy with like our shows starting back up again. And we're like, here we are. And then we closed just briefly over like the holidays and during stage 5 just so we could focus on like this venue project and everything. And so our core values are, we both have freedom as our core values as people, and it definitely plays into like our professional like structure. Sometimes we're like, I don't want to be stifled by having to be there all the time. So So that's also kind of like why we were closed for a little bit, so we could focus on our other things. But now we're open again. We opened like 2 weeks ago, and it's been good. And now we have some team members that are helping to operate the store, so we're not like up there all the time. But
And it's nice that events are happening. I mean, not just ours, that there's other things kind of happening now. So it gives people a reason to go shop for, festival wear / street wear.
Absolutely.
Things to
You're
wear
not
out,
just wearing like rave gear sitting in
Right.
your
Yeah,
living room.
exactly.
But we have like normal chill stuff,
Yeah.
like a lot of t-shirts and stuff, and
There's
like
a lot
joggers
of really cool stuff, yeah.
and things. So don't think it's only like festival fashion or.
She's always getting new things, even though I'm like, stop buying new shit for the store. But she can't stop
Yeah.
herself. So.
Oh, I'm like, but I had to.
So you should go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. And so
Guys
where,
and girls.
where can people
Yeah.
find that store? Where is it?
It's 1630 East 6th Street. You can look us up, Real Music, Real Fashion, on Instagram and Facebook.
It's right across from like the Royal Blue, right next to
Across from Zilker Brewery,
yeah.
next door to Liberty Bar.
Liberty Bar.
Got
So
it.
it's in a cute
Everybody knows what Liberty
area.
Bar is at.
You can get some food or go to a brewery, like they have outdoor breweries
Ramen
and stuff.
Tatsuya's right
Yep.
down the road
Yeah.
slightly.
So big foodies,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys. They
A little
love
bit.
You love food.
Can't you tell?
Yeah.
Chin exercise.
Definitely want to talk about the food. I know we kind of touched on it about how you guys, like, especially during the COVID time and quarantine,
COVID.
The
the COVIDs, you guys were always posting about like movies, and Kelly was talking about how that was really like a nice outlet for you guys.
Yeah.
But now, like with restaurants and food coming back, and I mean, is there any kind of, with all these visitors coming in, have you guys thought about like? I mean, I'm surprised you guys don't have a restaurant.
Oh my
honestly.
god, I say on
The
a regular
thought just-
basis,
yeah.
We've definitely
including
talked
like 2 days ago, that Andrew cooks and he'll cook stuff that's really good, and I'm like, we could put this on the food truck menu, Andrew.
So you're gonna have a food truck? I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
so maybe one day we'll have something, but we don't really have the time.
Yeah.
to
I mean,
be doing that. but-
definitely with this venue, I mean, we have like crazy wild future plans. I mean, we joke
Yeah.
about opening really dope diner. When you leave here, you
Yeah.
can go hit the dope diner and shit.
Like, after hours diner, playing cool music with like cool,
Neon shit
Maybe we
everywhere.
shouldn't give away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Move that, strike that.
It's just gonna be a little
Strike
neighborhood.
that.
We're gonna have a little rave neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like you guys like sit. Did y'all ever play that game when you were a kid and you could like make your own little city?
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
for sure,
Just
yeah.
have a real music city.
Yeah.
But I mean, we definitely want to have like a bunch of like dope food trucks and stuff here,
Mm-hmm.
just for the regular events, not even just for the festival, but that too. I mean, that's definitely something we always care about. Like we want, like I love when people are like, "Man, that pizza was super dope," or like, "This food truck is really awesome." Like, I mean, that kind of stuff matters to us. Like we want it, like we try to curate that as well as we possibly can too. And I mean, I feel like there's so many good food trucks, and I would love to just
What are some
spend
of your-
a few
yeah,
days
what are some of your
just trying
favorite?
all the food trucks. Somebody wants to
She
hook
said-
me up with some free food at their food truck. You let me know.
He said his
Hey, call
Instagram
him
was
right
gonna be
now.
a food blog, and then he like never posts. And I'm like, yeah, I told you weren't gonna keep up with that shit.
It's hard. I'm busy. Okay.
But what are some of your favorite like food spots in Austin? Because I feel like
Oh,
y'all are
man.
definitely the go-to resources. People
So
ask
many good
me,
spots.
like I get like messages and people are like,
Yeah,
"Where
but
should I go?" And I'm like, I
don't
can't.
trust her because she
Whoa.
told me that she's always ordering Domino's.
I
and I'm
used
like,
to.
why
I haven't-
not
yeah.
any of the Austin pizza places?
I haven't eaten pizza in a long time, so I've been trying to
good.
get all healthy.
I wish I could
But yeah,
cut out pizza all the time.
but all those things, yeah. I'm not. I enjoy food. If I get invited and it's free, even better. But yeah,
Food
I mean,
trucks.
I would. What kind of food places would you recommend? You've got people,
There's
visitors
so many.
coming in. What
yeah,
would
we're
some
always at the
spots
worst
be?
when you get put on the spot about things.
Well.
but
But we've thought about this.
Okay, restaurants or food trucks?
Both.
Okay,
Well, we
there's
don't have a
so
bunch of
restaurants. We really like. I always recommend Tillery because it's nearby us and
That's
it's got
good.
a really cute view, so you can
it's
see
like
the water
yeah,
and stuff.
It's the
Good
best.
patio.
Yeah,
We also like Jacoby's.
that's good.
I love Manuel's. I used to work there, but
The
I'm
one
obsessed
downtown's
with
been
Manuel's.
the one downtown's been closed since COVID, but
Oh,
like
wow.
I'm
The-
always checking to see
The
if
north
it's open.
location has better ambiance, but the food
True.
is great. They've got like these crab nachos.
crab nachos are so good.
Anyway,
I told y'all they were the food people.
Rosewood, we just ate there again recently. That was
yeah,
so good.
we ate at Rosewood when it first opened, and we were like, it's all right. But then now recently they kind of made it more of like a steakhouse, kind of chop house thing, and it's really good. Yeah, that place is good. Like we try to stay a lot, like
Kind of tropical is good.
yeah, we like to kind of, since we live on the east side, work on the east side, like all kind of stuff. Like we definitely eat more places on the east side. We love like supporting the neighborhood places. So anytime I see something new pop up, I'm like, we got to go check it out. Like we got to support. You know,
Lonesome Dove is really, really good.
Lonesome Dove is super good, and I hear that's going to be closing at some point because they're going to be building some high rise there at some point. So
Oh.
definitely check that out.
What
sometime.
else? What else?
What's that place that we would
We
always
just
go
had
to?
Bufalina recently, but
They just
East
closed.
location just closed, and they have different menus. So, but that was really good.
Over there by our store, the place with the pizza and stuff, the margarita pizza. And I love
El
that place.
Bruto is super good.
El Bruto is
They have a
really
good patio too.
All right, so
Ramen Katsuya, who
we
doesn't
can
want
go
I
that?
hope you wrote all of that down. I'm gonna go back and watch this and write everything down. And I
I'm
have,
gonna be like, oh damn it, I forgot this one.
yeah, she's gonna be commenting and saying that.
The
Speaking of-
Grove is actually really good. A lot of people think it's
I'm
more of
speaking
no. I
of-
just say, a lot of people think it's more of like just a lunch kind of place, but we've had dinner there a couple times and brunch, and like it's actually really damn good.
Yeah.
So just check it out. And they
We've
have a
got
really cool
different
patio.
locations, always with patios
Yeah.
and stuff.
Anyway,
For food trucks, I also like Vegan Nom. They're really good.
Oh, yeah,
They've
that
got
place
all
is
kinds of stuff that you wouldn't even know that you're having something that's vegan.
yeah,
Arlo's is always really good.
Arlo's is really good.
yeah. And what's the damn tacos we literally eat like all the time?
Oh,
Veracruz.
Yeah, Veracruz.
Everybody likes Veracruz, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So write all those down and make sure you go and check all those places out. See, you guys are curating the whole experience.
see, I just
We
did a
got
blog
food.
post just then.
I have a friend, my friend Nicole, that's coming in. She's my Fire
Yay.
Festy bestie. Her and
We
her
love
boyfriend.
her.
Yeah.
She's coming in, and her and her boyfriend are coming in, and I shit you not, she literally sent me like 5 restaurants. She's like, can we go here? And I want to go here. And I was like, I have already gained 10 pounds just from looking at this list of restaurants that you picked. 'Cause she's going to enjoy this whole section, and now I'm going to end up going there for
Nice.
the 3 days. But I definitely want to
Say
talk.
3 days to hang out with
There you
Nicole.
go.
That's
Exactly.
the perk of a 3-day
See?
festival.
No, I'm definitely not complaining. Whoever's complaining about a 3-day festival, like,
Yeah. So we'll
It's
do
just
also
us.
do the 3
It's just us.
Well,
We're
as,
on
a,
3 days.
performer, because I've performed a lot of festivals and then done costumes and stuff, but like, it's a lot
It
to
is a
do.
lot.
So I try to be lenient, like let
I can see that.
my girls or guys like, do you want a day to just experience it and chill? So
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
try to be accommodating and do
Yeah.
a combination. But November will also be 3 days. However, we will be reassessing our 2 versus 3 day plan after this year. And
That kind of, and
you
that
guys
kind of
gotta let us know what you prefer.
yeah.
yeah.
Because that also feeds back into kind of what she was talking about earlier too. It's like, if we're, 3 days can be a lot, but we're also only doing a couple of main stages. But if we're gonna start kind of branching out and doing more areas, more stages, maybe 2 days. I mean, just the sheer amount of artists that become available, and we're only doing. I mean, beyond 3 days can be just way too much. And then you've got so many set conflicts, and I know everybody hates that. And we usually have everybody play longer sets and things too. So we like to keep it where you can see as much or as little of someone as you like without having too many conflicts, which I think is important.
So someone that's never been to Seismic, what can they expect when they're coming to Seismic this year?
It's going to be slightly different because safety stuff, obviously, right? But I mean, I think
Great vibes.
great vibes for
great
sure.
music.
I mean, one of our friends, posted recently on there, Seismic feels like home to her or whatever. And that's what we want people to feel like. Not even just for people that live here, but it's we want people to feel like it's home, and that we want them to miss it every year and come for the vibes and the people. And that's why we think keeping a boutique makes a lot of sense as well. And Austin deserves something like that. I mean, it's not an ACL or whatever. It's just. I feel like it's just that's so intense,
Yeah.
like
And then, like when Megan Benson did the article about Seismic, she's a writer. She'll like freelance for like DJ Mag, and she did the Billboard article and all of that for us. She attended the past 2 Seismics actually, and after the first one, and she lives in New York, so after the first, she didn't know what she was getting herself into, and then she like wrote in there that the people were exceptional. Like she goes to a lot of events and festivals and stuff, but one thing that really stood out was the vibes and the people were all just really good. And we all know that living in Austin and everything.
Right.
That's why we love our city and our scene. It's just because it's made up of a bunch of really cool people that are laid back, down to earth. They're not like closed off in their own world. They're more respectful for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's something that we take pride in as well. So.
Yeah, same thing with our shows. I mean, it's like, we've had people ask before, like, because there were times where we were doing shows in Austin, San Francisco, LA, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston. We're doing shows kind of all over the place, and we've also traveled to a bunch of places and been a part of parties in different places and things. And Austin has always been, in our eyes, the best, scene and the best people with the best vibes. And so that's really why we've really focused to,
You can get
this
those
is where.
similar vibes in the other Texas cities too.
Yeah.
So no one come after us, because that's why we did
But-
it. Like we you know, the family extends pretty deep. Everyone knows people in the scene, and in San Antonio, San Antonio and Austin scene used to be very closely connected.
Very
people
closely.
would go to the same shows, but now each city has a lot of things going on in their own, so people don't have to travel as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the San Antonio, Houston, Dallas scene, they're all very interconnected, so you can get a lot of those good vibes and good people in all of those markets. But we particularly favor Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no complaints here. What's next? I know that's hard because all your attention's focused. I know you guys say you
You're
have all
sitting
these
in it.
other plans. The venue,
Yeah.
not this, well, the concourse.
Yes.
So excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll be revealing more information. We don't want to give away everything until everyone can see it, but essentially we've got a really big space, which we love. Part of scouting this was keeping like Seismic in mind and the type of room that we wanted for like the volcano stage. So if you think about last year at the Statesman, which is going away, so we couldn't keep using that anyway.
Yeah.
Plus dealing with having an event downtown, sound complaints, and the fire marshal keeps changing the indoor capacity, and it's just
It was
crazy.
just becoming a nightmare.
It was such an ordeal. But anyway, like we have huge, tall ceilings, these steel beam structures. It's just gonna be really conducive for dope ass volcano stage and other shows. And then so we can fit about almost 3,000 people in this part.
We're sitting in it,
but we will.
It really does exist.
Be able to accommodate shows for intimate events like 500 cap. And so you'll see how and all of that later. But size isn't everything glorious. That could be taken.
I know, right? I was like,
that could be taken in a weird way. But what I mean is,
never heard a woman say that.
As former partners of Kingdom Nightclub RAP, that was like a 300 cap, pushing 300 was still pushing it.
Yeah.
But you get such special, incredible nights having that intimate, capacity with huge acts,
huge artists.
Having good production and all of that. Like a lot of them would say that the sound there was one of their favorite sound systems to play on. And you're in this tight room and you just get those thick vibes too. And so that's really great. We always loved our shows at the Parish because it had that similar feel, a little bit more space too. So that was nice. And Cedar Street is like we do more like 750 folks there for those shows. They say you can do more, but because they have like the multiple lounge areas, more people want to be in the courtyard. So when we would do more, it would just feel too much. So we'd actually always be like fine tuning. Like I think we need to reduce the capacity a little bit. And we're like, whoa, like we still need to make ends meet in terms of how expensive these artists are. Y'all need to realize how expensive these artists are. Some of them are like $50,000.
Wow.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah,
so
or more.
So when do you guys think you will increase the capacity for your normal shows?
Yeah, so I guess just on Concourse, so we'll be able to accommodate all those different sizes, so it's going to be great. As far as our current
Immediate
shows,
future,
like right now that are like at Cedar Street and everything, Cedar Street definitely wants us to increase.
Yeah.
That's another thing that comes with the governor's changes, is it makes it harder for businesses because then things like venue owners or landlords even are like, you can be operating 100%, whereas like I want to see the money accommodating that.
Wow.
And so that's something that there was like a Vice article about how that's hard for like live music venues because a lot of them still can't book touring bands because they do tours on multiple states and they're not going to do an entire tour when they can only go to like Texas and maybe Florida.
Yeah.
So then it puts them on the hook and there's nowhere leniency with the landlord. So they have issues there. So and at Cedar, they also want us to increase the cap, but we're like, look, even when we do the 150 to 175, like right now we went from 150 to 175 and we've seen the past 2 weekends. Actually, this past weekend was our first one at 175, right? Yeah. And we see it can still feel like there's a decent amount of people. We've got the tables and chairs everywhere, so that takes up space.
Yeah.
And people are there, but then they all start like trying to be in the same area, and we're like, all right, like can you spread back out?
Yeah.
So things can be misleading if you see like footage if someone's like in the very front of where the DJ is, because people keep migrating there, but there's all this space behind them from the courtyard.
Right.
So in the past, we would tell people like go back to your seat and everything. Yeah. Now we're a little bit more lenient because everyone gets that they have to keep their masks on. Yeah. So it's open air. We're like, as long as you keep your masks on and everything, we're not going to be like telling everyone to go back to their
Right.
seats unless we get to the point where we're like, we feel like we need to do that. But
Plus, Cedar also changed all the tables like last week,
Yeah.
basically, because they were these longer,
That's what
skinnier
I
ones.
noticed.
Yeah,
and
so
they
then
cleared out a lot of space.
Yeah, exactly. So
for
that
you
kind of
guys.
creates this, you know.
so we'll see. I mean, I think we need to see how the next few weekends go. But we're still not very comfortable with increasing it that much more because we want to make sure there's enough places for people to have a seat and go to and have enough space. And it's also, we strategically made the cap at a number where we felt like we could still effectively moderate the mask wearing. If you get to have too much, too many people, then it's harder to regulate that. And we don't want to find ourselves in that position. So we don't want security to be overloaded and like having to navigate through people. So it's already like a sufficient amount of work as it is right now. Obviously money would be better for everyone involved if we did more, but we're not going to just, we care too much about our brands, the experience with respect to what's going on in the pandemic that we don't want to get a little too ahead of ourselves. So that's why we're keeping it at about 175 for now.
And we definitely, like, we've always, you know, our shows have always skewed pretty cheap. I mean, I feel like we always try to keep the tickets pretty low. And so right now, obviously, they're definitely higher because we just don't have as many people. And I think, you know,
And the
it definitely
quality of
sucks
artists.
because in a perfect world, I would love to do the shows for cheaper, you know, if we could, because that's always kind of how we've been. We've always
We want shows
been
to be
that way.
accessible.
Yeah.
We see people charging the $40 for like a warehouse event with a local DJ, and you're like, man, we feel like guilty, or we're getting flack for having tickets at $40 for like a headliner right now and local acts. And so it's just different. You know, it's good to support everyone, especially everyone's been hurting and making up for lost time. But a lot of these artists have not even changed their rates that much. And we'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, we're in a pandemic. You know, for Seismic and for shows, like, they're still like trying to push like high dollar.
And that's another thing too with, you know, reopening now. It's like, you know, I have agents hit me up like, hey, like, we're ready to go. You can do this full open now. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like, you know, so then it's like, you know, some of them might go play another spot or something because that place is willing to just do full open, you know, and pay more money or whatever. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a tough, tricky, weird situation. I definitely can't wait for it to get back to some sort of normalcy, you know, but
I feel like we're getting
we're getting there.
We thought that many times last year. But just in general, you know, the roller coaster of COVID. But it's very positive seeing like all the people getting their vaccines.
I feel like a lot
more available.
I feel like a ton of people in my feed are getting their vaccines now. So which is
just
cool.
so those of you who don't know, like we're partially vaccinated, and we also had tests recently. So. And we're very careful, even with throughout this entire thing. Like we barely even see our own friends. And we're like, we're gonna have to wear masks if we see you because I don't trust anybody.
And I mean, we never got COVID, so I guess we were doing it right. So.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys, and we even talked about that during the summer when I first saw you guys when we were at that live stream. I mean, y'all were even then keeping your distance. And so you've always, as long as I feel like the biggest takeaway from this, as one of the people that attends all of your events, is knowing that at the end of the day, like, you're looking out for our best interest.
Right.
And if people can have that in mind when they're attending Seismic, it's not because they want to be the bad guy. They don't want, you know, Kelly does.
Oh, pods are so fun, guys.
I can't wait to tell someone to put their mask on. It's the best.
See, not fun, but they're doing it for your safety. They're doing it for my safety. And as long as you can keep that in mind and be kind, I think is just the number one thing to everything.
Right. Just remember that, like, a business is always supposed to take more safety measures than a normal person. Like, a normal person is making a decision for themselves. But when you are like a public company or whatever, you know, hosting lots of people, like, it's your responsibility to be safer because you can't be making that reckless decision for everyone. So just because some may be like, why do I need to wear the mask or this and that? It's like, we have to skew towards the safer option, not the lesser of those, you know? So
I wanted to touch on, you mentioned your news feed. Andrew is very active on Facebook and wanted to, between...
I feel like we're both pretty active.
You're both pretty active, and maybe it's just because...
He's louder.
He
I've
drops these things, these little carrots.
It's the only thing I know how to use is Facebook. I'm old.
But you the way that Andrew, if you're not following Andrew or if you're not friends with him on Facebook,
You can try.
You need to try to get on that train, because he will drop these hints
Carrots.
and these little carrots. I actually posted and that's where I do like Facebook for that. You can throw like the memes in there of like, you know, here's Andrew with the carrot, and then here's the bunny that's like trying to grab the carrot. So I'd love to know what that time difference is from when like you're like, oh, just book the biggest artist that I've been trying to book for 10 plus years, but can't tell
just did one of those.
That's so funny. So I actually, there's 2 artists that one is actually finalizing, but
which is
we
big.
had just been reveling about one of the other ones, and so I thought his post was about one of the other ones that we're going to do here, but it was actually about another artist that we're going to be doing at Cedar that we will be revealing sooner. So Marsh and one of like our team members had asked the other weekend, like,
who is
we
it?
saw Andrew's post, we need to, like, who is it that you're waiting for? And I was like, really put in the spot, but I just felt really like I just needed to let them know. So I'm like, well, this is a little bit more mainstream than our typical booking, but it's still a good checkbox. And I said this one artist. Then later when I like clued him in, he's like, oh, but I was talking about, I'm like,
I was like, you told him the wrong artist.
Your own post. And I'm like, do I contact them? Do I let them know?
She's like, I think you should text them. And I was like, what?
And I think he did text
I did text him. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just because I was like, well, I don't want him to think that that's what the artist I was talking
But that is one of the artists that we're excited about. But his post.
The other one's definitely more in his realm, though, I would say, so.
See these carrots? This is what they do.
But this
is what he does.
His own wife and business partner.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, we were joking about it earlier, and I was like, I literally felt like I started the post about I started the whole, the tease post.
The tease before the tease.
Yeah, I feel like promoters do it all the time now, but like, I distinctly remember when I started doing it, I was like, I don't know if I could really be doing this, because it's such a, like, that world is very, like, you're not allowed to announce until you're allowed to announce. Like, they watch all your shit.
That's true.
So, like, when I started doing it, I was like, I don't even know if this is against the rules. I'm just going to start trying this, And
it's like 100 comments. Yeah. And people will just, I'm literally just there for the comments to see the memes and people like making their guesses. Yeah. And
so it definitely, like, I feel like it's definitely a thing now, but I truly do believe that I was like the starter of that whole thing. But
it's not your fault.
But it definitely just depends for sure. Like the recent one that you're talking about that I posted, I mean, it's just like, I would say in this world right now, it's not like we're posting about a ton of things, because we're still only announcing a few shows and we're still taking it pretty easy. But like for that, I literally have been trying to bring him for so long, and I honestly was like, I did not think that he was going to be in the country to even do this show. So when it came up that he was even around, I was like, are you sure? Like, because he does not live in the United States.
My mind is just going.
Yeah, so I was like, okay.
As everyone else's is right now.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, well then, if this is possible, sure, But I definitely never in a million years thought that the time we would be bringing him would be during fucking COVID. I mean, it's just, I just can't believe it's even happening, to be honest.
See?
So.
Did it again.
Yeah.
Well, how can people find you guys and make sure they're staying up to everything?
I actually finally made our accounts. But haven't
we have
been
accounts.
It yet.
You can find us, but.
So I guess for RealMusic events.
Yep.
Facebook,
Twitter,
Twitter. The order of
Seismic
activity
Dance,
is Facebook, then Instagram, then Twitter.
Okay.
In terms of how active we
I'm trying to get better at the gram, y'all, so you'll catch me on there. No,
former food blogger, retired food blogger.
I literally make like one post every like month. I'm like, God.
And then I was looking at the other day, I was like, God, Andrew, like, you hardly have any photos of me on there, and they're like not good photos either. And I was like, I'm gonna go delete all my photos of you on that.
Well, it's funny because like same thing with Twitter. Like I don't use my Twitter a lot, but I actually have like 15,000 followers on Twitter. I'm like, why am I not using this shit? Like I just gotta get.
It's
get so busy,
we have all the brands.
So
we have RealMusic, our personal brand. So like Andrew Parsons, Kelly Gray, on all the socials, and then there's Seismic Dance event. So there's the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter of those. Mm-hmm. Then there's RealMusic, Real Fashion, Facebook and Instagram. There, haven't done the Twitter yet. The Twitter.
Twitters.
Then we're gonna have our venue too.
Yeah.
Oh, and my dance group, the Go-Go Gadgets.
Yeah, and we have like all these emails too. Like, we gotta make new email addresses for all the companies. It's just like and we run all the shit ourselves. It's not like we have like a ton of people just like.
We do have like a couple of clutch team members that help out.
Yeah.
And that'll be elevating, especially with the venue coming on. And That's the
what-
exciting thing is
Yeah,
getting
I was
more
about to say.
team members and more stability, and we can actually look forward to like salaried positions and
Yeah.
stuff because everything's been like just like side
Yeah.
hustle, you
Yeah.
know. And
I'm-
now we can actually like make this much more formal for a good clutch
Yeah.
group of team
I
members.
mean, I'm really excited. Just, I mean, for the venue too. Kind of going back to like, I want everybody to feel like home here because we do want that. But it's like, also, just at our events at like Cedar. I mean, people like this girl came up the other day who did bottle service for Cedar a week ago for one of our shows. She's like, I literally only did it because it was y'all shows, and the guy who's the GM there only started working there because of our events. So it's like people like to work the events that we throw, and it's like I feel like once we finally are able to announce this and have like I feel like the amount of just like the bartenders that come to our shows and people that are going to be working here, it's going to be like really awesome. I feel like it's going to be great.
So we will be hiring soon.
Yeah.
So
It's exciting.
be on the lookout. Bartenders, security. I've got my dancers, but I'll be opening up to more performers, especially like more specialty
Oh,
acts.
that's great. That's another
Yeah.
thing that I get
Regional
a lot of
and local
questions
DJs too. Like
We're gonna have a lot more opportunity for more
people to play a lot.
Can we just touch on that? Because I know
Yeah.
we're ending up, but
about.
like
No, you're good.
we would like to be able to give more opportunity to even more DJs, and I feel like that's like a kind of a sensitive area in DJ land because for us, we have like our team of real music DJs, and so they've spent many of them have been on their team for years, and they've really like built themselves up, and they started promoting, and they
Yeah.
worked for the opportunity, and they
Yeah.
provided their music, and they worked for it. So you give priority to people that have really like put in the work because that's
Yeah.
how we both got started.
Right.
Like we both put in that work to get our opportunities, and you want to support people who support you, and so a lot of like our opening DJs are people that are on our team, and sometimes we open it up to other DJs because they're good DJs and they live in Austin, and we don't want it to seem like we're just closed off and we only support our own DJs, but it's just like there's only so many spots, and you
Yeah.
would feel bad if you're not giving it to the people that have really earned it and are great DJs. So with this venue, we're gonna have a lot more opportunity because we'll also have a patio. So during our events, we'll have
Wow.
more like spots for DJs and more we can
kids.
give more nights to other promoters even, and it can just be a lot more of a collaborative space than
Yeah.
what it may have seemed to be in the past. And we're just kind of limited in scope previously, but that scope significantly expands now. So
Yeah.
I just heard a noise. That's why I like looked over this way.
Who has been doing the whole time? Like, what's that sound?
But yeah, we're excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it'll be really good. I mean, I just to touch on what she was saying. I mean, it's definitely one of the things that I like with the festival. We pride ourselves on that. Like, I want people to have these opportunities to be able to play these shows and do these things. And and it really does come down to like if you're supporting what we're doing and you're coming out to shows and stuff, then like we would like to support you too. And I think that's kind of what the community is about, right? Like just put in a little bit of effort, and you can.
And if
places.
anyone who wants to know like how you get in on that, it's like
Yeah.
when people get to see your face, I know I'm gonna die. Seeing someone's face more, like even if you're not like an active promoter on their team, but
Yeah.
coming out to shows and we get to see you and like that you're actually about this music and in the scene and the industry, and like we get to put a face to the name, and then there's repetition, and then we see you again, and we're like, you become more present in our minds.
Yeah.
You think of the people that you see more
Right.
when you think of like opportunities and granting it to people that are also supporting. So
Well, if you look at it like a job, essentially, too, like
Right.
that is, if you're going to, you don't necessarily, or even dating,
Right.
I know for me personally, I don't like the guy that's like going and hitting on all the girls.
Right.
I want the guy that's just kind of hanging back, that, you
Yeah.
know, is maybe doing his homework, knows like what
do your
about me.
homework.
So it's the same kind of thing.
Putting in the time.
Put the time, like get to know them. I think that's great advice because that is
Yeah.
something that, like you said, people just, and there's a lot of that instant gratification. People
Yeah,
just
for
think
sure.
like, oh, here, I'm DJing now and
Right.
book me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I definitely think, like Kelly was saying, it's, from where we started and how hard we've had to work to where we even are, it's like, maybe it's a little old school of a vibe, but I think that, as a DJ or a promoter, whoever, like, I think, putting in the time and earning it, it's going to feel a lot better as well, and
Totally.
I want there to be a little bit of a, as you would say, like a little carrot, like where it is like, it's different. And I don't want to sound conceited or weird, but it just means like, playing a real music show is not playing random place, it's like we put a lot of time and effort, and when you come to play, there's going to be, it's going to be done right,
Right.
and it's just a different thing.
The level that you guys
Yeah.
have. That's awesome. Well, we're going to play a little game
Oh,
next.
boy.
You'll get to see that.
I'm
But
gonna drink some water first.
yeah, get some water. Thank you so much for being here
Yeah,
and
thanks,
sharing
Cardenas.
this experience, sharing the
Yeah.
concourse, and you guys will get to see more of that. And just so excited for all the things
Cool.
you
I
guys.
guess we'll have to have
coming up.
part 3 where we talk more about the venue
Yeah.
and more is
We'll actually do like a
available.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve will be on this side of the
And you can
camera
meet our
next
business
time.
partner for our venue because we do have a business partner, a third. So
Oh.
yeah, like we're a half together because we're like a double-headed beast.
Yeah.
And then our partner
You
David,
said it. You
Hydro.
said it. I didn't. No, just kidding.
our partner David is our other business partner.
Oh,
and,
cool.
he's
Well, there you go.
super smart
Part
and
3
talented.
Yeah.
with the 3 of them.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that. You guys, thank you for being. Kelly is the first official repeat guest on
Oh.
Concert Queen Connect. So already, just breaking records.
Yes.
So, #1 most viewed podcast.
Hey.
Here we go. So thank you guys so much. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
What camera am I supposed to look at?
You just gotta look at all of it.